Oslo Rave Cave. Carbon monoxide poisoning. On August 30th, 2020, approximately 200 people gathered for an illegal underground rave in Oslo, Norway. The location was an abandoned concrete bunker secretly known as the Rave Cave. Most attendees were in their 20s and 30s, drawn by word of mouth and encrypted messaging apps. The bunker entrance was a narrow hole, barely 3 feet wide, hidden in a wooded area on the city's east side. Inside, the bunker consisted of several sealed concrete chambers spanning about 5,000 square feet. The walls were covered with graffiti and makeshift UV decoration. Party organizers had set up 3 portable diesel generators to power sound systems and lighting equipment. The generators hummed loudly in a separate room, but exhaust had nowhere to escape. Ventilation was almost non-existent, with only one small entrance serving as both entry and exit. By 3:30 a.m., the party was at full capacity. The temperature had risen to 86 degrees Fahrenheit from body heat and equipment. Oxygen levels in the bunker had dropped to approximately 16%, well below the safe minimum of 19.5%. Carbon monoxide from the generators had reached dangerous levels of about 150 parts per million. The first signs of trouble began when 5 attendees near the generator room complained of severe headaches and dizziness. Within 30 minutes, people throughout the bunker started experiencing nausea and confusion. Martin Holst, a 26-year-old DJ, noticed several dancers collapsing near the main dance floor. By 4:15 a.m., at least 12 people had lost consciousness. 2 attendees managed to reach the entrance and call emergency services. Police and paramedics arrived at 4:45 a.m. and immediately recognized the signs of carbon monoxide poisoning. First responders had to crawl through the narrow entrance one by one. 2 police officers who entered without breathing apparatus quickly began experiencing symptoms themselves. Rescue efforts were complicated by the maze-like layout and unconscious victims scattered throughout different rooms. Emergency workers dragged victims to the entrance where additional medics were waiting. By 6:30 a.m., 27 people had been hospitalized with carbon monoxide poisoning. 7 victims, including a 31-year-old woman and 2 men in their 20s, were unconscious when found, with carbon monoxide levels in their blood exceeding 25%. All victims eventually survived, though 5 experienced long-term neurological damage. In February 2021, 2 organizers were convicted of health and safety violations and sentenced to 18 months in prison. The court also ordered them to pay compensation to 2 young men who suffered permanent brain injuries from the incident. Treasure hunters. Suffocation. Karangilan Cave, Bukidnon, Philippines. On March 15, 2024, 8 treasure hunters entered Karangilan Cave in Sitio Tinago, Barangay Cabadiangan, Bukidnon Province. The group was searching for the legendary Yamashita treasure, gold allegedly hidden by Japanese forces during World War II. Ray Gallardo, a 42-year-old construction worker from Valencia City, led the expedition. The other members included 3 local farmers and 4 laborers from neighboring towns, all between 25 and 50 years old. The cave system stretched approximately 3 miles underground, with numerous narrow passages and chambers. Local residents had long warned about its dangers, particularly during the rainy season. The entrance was a vertical shaft about 6 feet wide that descended sharply for 30 feet before opening into the main passage. The group carried basic equipment: flashlights, rope, picks, and shovels. They had no gas detection equipment or proper breathing apparatus. At 10:30 a.m., they reached a chamber roughly 1,200 feet from the entrance. This chamber split into 3 passages. The group decided to explore the middle passage, which sloped downward at a 40-degree angle. After crawling 200 feet through a tight tunnel barely 3 feet high, they reached a larger chamber with visible mineral deposits on the walls. The first sign of danger came when Antonio Delgado, a 38-year-old farmer, complained of a burning sensation in his throat. Within minutes, the others began experiencing dizziness and labored breathing. The air had become noticeably thicker, with a faint smell similar to rotten eggs. Ray Gallardo immediately recognized the danger and ordered everyone to retreat. As they struggled back through the narrow tunnel, Jose Buenaventura, the oldest at 50, collapsed about 150 feet from the larger chamber. 2 others tried to drag him, but began to lose consciousness themselves. The remaining treasure hunters scrambled toward the entrance, their movements becoming increasingly uncoordinated. Ray Gallardo was the only one who managed to reach the cave entrance. At 2:15 p.m., he emerged disoriented and immediately collapsed. A local farmer discovered him unconscious near the cave opening and called authorities. Emergency responders arrived at 3:30 p.m. and revived Gallardo, who described the situation inside. A rescue team equipped with breathing apparatus entered the cave at 4:45 p.m. They discovered dangerously high levels of carbon monoxide and hydrogen sulfide. After a difficult 5-hour operation, they recovered the body of Jose Buenaventura. The team was unable to reach deeper sections due to toxic gas concentrations exceeding 300 parts per million. 3 other treasure hunters remained trapped in the cave, presumed dead from gas exposure or asphyxiation. The Ophir Cave. Cave. On July 9, 2019, 15 young adults attended an underground rave in an abandoned mine near Ophir, Utah. The event was organized by Marcus Donnelly, a 28-year-old self-described underground event curator from Salt Lake City. He had discovered the abandoned silver mine 3 months earlier and saw its potential as an exclusive party venue. The attendees paid $75 each for the experience, marketed as a subterranean sound journey. The mine consisted of horizontal tunnels carved into the mountainside in the late 1800s. The main shaft extended approximately 1,200 feet into the mountain, with numerous side passages and chambers. The tunnels were roughly 6 feet high and 4 feet wide, with wooden support beams placed every 20 feet. The only ventilation came from the main entrance and 2 partially collapsed air shafts. The party setup included a diesel generator placed 100 feet inside the main entrance to power LED lighting and sound equipment. Marcus had placed battery-powered speakers throughout the tunnels, creating what he called a sound labyrinth. By 11:30 p.m., all 15 guests had arrived and ventured deep into the mine system. Emma Chen, a 24-year-old graduate student, was the last to enter. At 1:15 a.m., attendees in the deepest chamber, approximately 900 feet from the entrance, began experiencing headaches and confusion. Sophia Miller, a 22-year-old barista, was the first to notice her vision blurring. Within 20 minutes, 3 people had begun vomiting, and others reported feeling extremely disoriented. The carbon monoxide levels had risen to approximately 170 parts per million, while oxygen had decreased to 17%. Kyle Jackson, a 26-year-old EMT who was off-duty and attending the party, recognized the symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. He immediately began directing people toward the exit. The narrow winding tunnels created confusion as people stumbled in the dim light. The group became separated as some took wrong turns into side passages. By 2:00 a.m., 10 attendees had found their way out of the mine. Kyle went back inside to search for the missing 5. He found 3 disoriented ravers 400 feet from the entrance and guided them to safety. Kyle and Marcus then re-entered the mine to locate Emma Chen and Daniel Morris, who remained missing. At 2:45 a.m., they found Daniel unconscious in a side tunnel. They dragged him 300 feet before Kyle himself began losing consciousness from the toxic air. Marcus managed to get Kyle out, but collapsed just inside the entrance. Emergency services arrived at 3:30 a.m. after being called by the other attendees. Rescue workers found Emma Chen's body 1,100 feet inside the mine. She had wandered into a dead-end passage where carbon monoxide had accumulated to lethal levels of over 300 parts per million. Daniel Morris never regained consciousness and died 3 days later in the hospital from severe brain damage due to prolonged oxygen deprivation. Sótano de Xoconostle. On April 17, 2022, a weekend-long electronic music festival took place in a remote area of San Luis Potosi, Mexico. The location was approximately 2 miles from the Sótano de Xoconostle, a vertical cave shaft known for its impressive depth. Around 300 attendees gathered for the outdoor event, which was organized without proper permits. The party area featured 3 stages with powerful sound systems, colorful laser projections, and camping zones scattered across the scrubland. Miguel Alvarez, a 23-year-old university student from Mexico City, arrived at the festival on Saturday afternoon with 4 friends. By midnight, the music had reached its peak volume of approximately 110 decibels, echoing through the desert landscape. The festival offered various alcoholic beverages and, according to later witness statements, illicit substances were widely available. The Sótano de Xoconostle was a pit cave with an entrance roughly 65 feet in diameter. The initial drop was a vertical shaft of 393 feet, followed by a series of smaller drops totaling another 197 feet. Local conservation groups had previously installed small warning signs around the perimeter, but these were not illuminated or easily visible at night. The festival organizers had not placed any additional barriers or warnings around the cave system. By 3:45 a.m. on Sunday, Miguel had consumed at least 6 alcoholic drinks and, according to his friends, had taken an unknown substance. His blood alcohol level was later estimated at 0.19%, more than twice the legal driving limit. Witnesses reported seeing him walking unsteadily away from the main dance floor, stating he needed fresh air and wanted to see the stars better. At approximately 4:20 a.m., Miguel separated from his group and wandered approximately 0.3 miles from the festival grounds. The desert terrain was uneven with numerous small hills and depressions. The night was particularly dark, with only 15% moon illumination. 2 other attendees reported hearing a distant shout around this time, but assumed it was festival-related jubilation. Miguel's friends began searching for him at 5:30 a.m. when he hadn't returned to their camp. By 8:00 a.m., they had alerted festival security, who began a wider search of the area. At 11:15 a.m., a security guard discovered a fresh scuff mark on the edge of the Sótano de Xoconostle. Emergency services were called immediately. Rescue specialists arrived at 1:30 p.m. and began a technical descent into the pit. At 3:45 p.m., they located Miguel's body at the bottom of the first vertical drop, 393 feet below the surface. The autopsy revealed multiple traumatic injuries consistent with a high-velocity fall. Toxicology reports confirmed significant levels of alcohol and MDMA in his system. The official cause of death death was listed as accidental fall while intoxicated. If you want to see more videos like this, click the video on screen now and make sure to subscribe.